try from there.
All right, we'll get Klopp so that we can able to hear him properly, because you know what, it is important that we hear what the big man has to say. He is under so much pressure given what has happened last night. We can't blame him, eh? Can we? I'd actually love to hear from Liverpool fans what they think of that. In fact, just football fans generally, because it's had its reverberations around the world, eh?
I think Carlo thinks the tie is over, and I think it as well in the moment. But in 3 weeks, it's how it is in these moments. The closer you get to the game, the bigger our chances become, and the lesser likely it is that the tie is over. But tonight with a 5-2 and you see the game, and it's like, they are pretty good in counter-attacking. We have to score their 3 goals, so take some risk. That could be a bit tricky, but it's really not even in my mind. So we go there, I can say that now already, and try to win the game. If that's possible or not, I don't know now, but that's what we will try, and from there we will see. Yeah, I really think everything was pretty obvious tonight. I think we gave all 5 goals away. All 5 means we could have done better there, but they were obviously different. The start in the game, and in our situation where we are, it's really important that we see positive steps. And I think the first half was pretty much, besides the 2 goals we conceded, that the best we played for probably in the whole season. So I like that a lot. I can see that people think that, understandable, but that's actually not allowed. So I told the boys directly after the game, so this is different things what happened tonight. There's one result that's exactly opposite of what we wanted. We made mistakes around the goal, yes, as well. But, and I said that a couple of times, a defeat is a defeat if you don't learn from it. So, and if you don't learn tonight that the start of the game was outstanding, and the way we played, it was us in a nutshell, that was us like we want to be. And that's what we have to keep doing. So if we now allow this one game to be influential, but we are really silly.
All right, fast forward to tonight. What will be happening, because Pep Guardiola's men, Manchester City, are going to be up against Leipzig in Germany. He's also confirmed that they're going to be without midfielder Kevin De Bruyne and also defender Aymeric Laporte, having been ruled out through illness. And he also wasn't quite sure if they would be ready as well for the weekend.
Kevin Laporte illness. They are not ready for tomorrow. I'm as well. So that's what it is during the season. Unfortunately, sometimes a moment happen. And didn't feel good right after a game against Nottingham Sunday. And yesterday Jaime didn't feel good. And another player is going to play. So it happens sometimes. Right after the draw, I knew it. I felt it. That will be a real tough opponent. So, from my experience, we face any opponent should be comfortable for us, but the reality is completely different. We know the quality of them. For many years, this club have an own culture for the young players, recruitment and physicality, clear patterns to play, really good to the channels, a lot of play in the middle, physicality. In German football, especially FC, let them make the transition, are unstoppable. Huge respect what they have done this club. Every season qualify for the Champions League tournament, so huge respect. I know the quality will be a tough 2 games, and first game try to control the emotions, try to make a good performance, try to get good result for second leg in Manchester.
Wednesday nights, soccer nights, your nights. Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Kwanda Mkwena is the future of track racing in South Africa. Let's catch up with this fast riding sensation and know him a little bit better. How many years ago was it when I last spoke to you?
I think I was still in primary school then, so probably it has to be more than 5 years.
But you were just already shaking the ground and you were making headlines.
It's moved quite quickly versus from where I was coming from. Now I'd say, on the big scene, on the big stage, going against all the European guys. So it's, I guess the pressure and everything is there, but I just need to bring home the results and just make my team and my parents and the sponsors proud.
#MSW.
Well, by far one of the most talented and industrious midfielders in the country. And in fact, that South Africa has ever produced over the years. No question about his abilities now. Which kind of begs the question, why doesn't he have a club right now? And why did he leave TS Galaxy 6 months after he managed to join them? Well, he'll actually give us his side of the story. Simply because you've heard what his former coach of the Rockets has had to say, as well as his former Mamelodi Sundowns coach. They've been having a good time on Twitter, haven't they? But the only person's voice that we are missing is the football player, who is the most important part of the story anyway. Well, he's alleged to have been let go by the Mpumalanga outfit simply because, wait for it, he was not putting in enough effort. We are happy that he's made enough effort to come in and speak to us. Not on the phone, not on Zoom, not via any other means of communication, but he's decided to come in studio live to tell us why he didn't make that effort at TS Galaxy. Former TS Galaxy striker Sibusiso Vilakazi is here in studio. Vila, good to see you. Welcome.
Good evening to you, Robert, to the listeners.
How are you doing, sir?
Tired from today's training session.
Oh, today's training session?
Yep.
Well, just training in the gym, or you've joined a new club?
I wouldn't say I've joined a new club, but then I've started training with TS Galaxy just to see how they do things there, just to have an open view of everything that they do over there before we could take further steps. So today's training session took a bit of out of me. It was very intense. So
wow,
yeah.
The same TS Galaxy that let go of you. I'm saying the same TS Galaxy that let go of you.
No, I mean, I'm training with Skukune. Sorry. As I told you, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. It's been a long day. So, yeah, I've been training with Skukune.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, how do you go back to the same team that has just told you that you didn't put in enough effort? Okay, firstly, I mean, obviously that's breaking news in a way to a lot of people that are listening, because we just know that you were in limbo.
Yeah.
We just know that you hadn't been aligned to any other team and you were still trying to find a team. So what's the latest, though, in terms of Sekhukhune inviting you to come through for training? What's the bigger objective?
Well, before going to Sekhukhune, after I departed with TS Galaxy, immediately after the coach had told me, look, you can go to a club president and you guys can decide on your way forward. And then after then, we had decided to settle the matter and then, of course, shake our hands and then separate immediately. And then from then, my mindset was like, I'm going to the gym. From that separation, I was like, I'm going to the gym. I think that for me was a source of fuel inside my body in terms of, okay, I take it. I take it in terms of the coach had said I'm no longer in his plans. I'm no longer useful to his tactics. And having, after some time, if I remember correctly, they told me to go and train with the MTC team, which I appreciated also. And I said, okay, maybe it's a lesson that I have to go about it, which I did. I accepted it. I didn't ask questions. And then after some time, I thought maybe now I think I've learned my lesson. Let me engage back and try to find out from the coach on what's happening going forward, because firstly, I'd like to apologize if I've disrespected your training sessions, I've disrespected your tactics. Now I'm ready to come back and help the team, because I felt like there's so much more that I could give into the team, irrespective of whoever that's in there. And at the end of the day, I still respect your decision in terms of who plays. And I've never once questioned who do you play, and once I've never trained in a situation whereby, number one, I would never put myself in a position of, say, coach, I'm raising my hand. I've always raised my hand in terms of what I saw, and given the opportunity, as I say, I've always put myself in that position. And whatever happens after then, of course, it's up to the coach. And of course, if he has taken a decision not to include me in a squad of 21 or whatever, I accept. And as I say, if then I'm not in that that's able to fuel me to say I'm going back to the gym and I'm going back to the drawing board to try and see and find out how can I plot these dots in my path. So yeah, pretty much that happened. And of course, as I say, after that conclusion, I said, okay, all right, cool, I'm going to the gym, we'll see.
Okay, let's take it a few steps back.
Yeah.
when he was asked, I'm talking about your coach,
Yeah.
former coach at TS Galaxy, Ramovic, and he said, and I quote from him, he says about Vila, fantastic player, fantastic name, great career, but again, me as a coach, I don't care about age. I don't care about names. I just look at the things that I see on the field. And if we have players on the field that give 100% and they train well, give a lot of effort, these are players that will play. The players that don't do their best every day will have a difficult time, end quote. So that was a direct reference to you,
Of course.
saying that, players that don't do their best every day,
Yeah.
they're going to have a difficult time. And you were having a difficult time because you want to play, which then goes back to saying you are not giving your best at training. So that's the version from him about you.
All right.
How does that land and how true is that?
Quite right. Of course, I can't control his view.
Yeah.
I can't control what he sees at that moment, in that time, and I don't know what kind of space he finds himself in to see what am I not doing right to put myself in the team. But then I'll just take it back further also in terms of what really, really, really disturbed my training sessions and my playing game time also, because there was a phase whereby I think later towards the end of the year, my daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy. Epilepsy.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed with that. So she would have a couple of seizures at night during between 10 and 12 o'clock. So in between that space of time, she would have like 10 to 15 seizures.
Sure.
So those days were really very difficult, and that happens towards the later stage of the year. So start of the season, I had more game time. I started to find myself also.
Yeah.
But then, of course, life happened. My daughter got that situation, and that, of course, started to lead to some of maybe his thoughts of not me putting so much.
Yeah.
But then I addressed that situation to them and said, look, I'm having a situation at home with my family, and my daughter, she's been diagnosed with this illness, and now it's the first time I'm seeing this thing, and she's been a happy baby all along.
Yeah.
Happy playing, and then suddenly now this comes through. We don't know how to deal with it. And then immediately during that evening, we took her to the doctor, and then of course they put her into bed. While she was still hospitalized, we are not getting much help. We couldn't find any medication to make her feel better, and she was still getting those seizures even at the hospital. So then I addressed that issue that, look guys, this is really affecting me. It's starting to play a part in terms of me coming to training sessions. And mind you that we don't have sleepless nights. The sun goes down, the sun will come out without me having any sleep.
Okay, just hold on there, and I really apologize for breaking your trail of thought, because I need to take a quick break. I want to ask you though, if they do accommodate within the club any such eventualities, because it is something you haven't planned and it does affect you mentally. Sibu will come back with more.
Marawa Sports Worldwide Live.
In 3, 2, 1.
On 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live. #MSW.
It is live on 947, live on Vuma FM, Rise FM, and on Sowetan Live. This is #Marawa Sports Worldwide, and wherever you are listening to the show around the country, the continent, or the world, this is our exclusive with Vila Vilakazi. A lot has happened, and as we're heading into the break, I had to interrupt him, but he was getting into a very emotional state simply because of what he was describing, and it makes perfect sense. Your kid is diagnosed with epilepsy. It affects you mentally. It affects how you approach the game. It affects the fact that you don't get enough sleep, let alone enough quality sleep, just no sleep at all. Just firstly, though, for context, how old is your child?
She's 4.
She's 4 years old.
Turning 5 this year.
Yeah. And this year, 2023, or was it towards the end of last year, did these episodes start?
Correctly
towards the end of last year.
So towards the end, we started to see, of course, those difficult times.
Yeah.
Difficult times whereby, as I said, like within that happening, still had to go to work.
Yes.
Still had to make time to go see them at the hospital, see if they're doing okay, and then still have to make my way to work, which of course I was still driven, and of course the team was in between results that are not coming through.
Yeah.
And then of course I had to make a decision, but I felt like at that time football I was starting to lean more on my daughter. I was starting to lean more on how she can get better. As a father, you try and look at her going through that suffering, which I felt like maybe I could take this pain from her. But then at that time, you don't have means to help her, but just to be there, and try to find out from the doctors, what can we do to make her feel better so that everything becomes normal. But then with life, there's patience through everything. It takes time. But then just to see her being a normal child, because of even with that, she had to pull out of school, because we had felt like I would anticipate a call from the school to tell me that, look, she's not feeling well. So that these would happen each and every day now. And then now I'm like, would I get a call today to tell that my daughter, she's not feeling well? And now, mind you, now she's no longer the same child that was participating through everything that was doing, playing soccer, playing whatever, his yoga, his football. She's no longer doing those things. But then, of course, when you hear those things, it doesn't suit you well. But still within that, I still have the strength to say, look, it's a phase. I'll go through it, and then I'll find ways to get up each and every morning to go to work and try to put in the best performance that I still can. And I must say, to be quite fair, I still put in the best performance to raise my hand doing the job. And then afterwards, after doing the job, switch off, go to be a father. So,
but you had an honest conversation with the coach.
Honest conversation to tell
And how
him.
was he responsive to what you were telling him?
I felt at that moment, of course, it gave me an ear.
Yeah.
And then going forward, and then that, I felt like it just disappeared. It's like the conversation that we had just disappeared. And I felt like that was a deep conversation for you to understand. Number one, as a father also, a father figure, that if you were in a position of, maybe, for an example, I'm just saying this, something is happening on top, and then you hear a sound, and you are maybe you're having a hamstring. I'm sure maybe you going to that upstairs, you'll never feel that hamstring. You get what I'm saying? You'll never feel that hamstring, because of that something is happening on top, and you gotta be that superhero dad to help the situation. So I thought within a father figure conversation between him and I, he would understand, because that's when I felt like, is it really worth it to look at football rather than looking at the health of my daughter? Because health, for me, the biggest lesson out of this thing was health shakes everything up. I tell you now, and you and I can confess and say, health shakes everything up. Doesn't matter.
No, absolutely.
Doesn't matter. An amount of money that you have doesn't matter. And within that said, it shook my family up almost apart also.
And understandably so. I mean, this is your pride and joy. This is your 4-year-old daughter.
Yeah, that
and
one moment. Sorry to disturb. Moment. First game when we played AmaZulu, I think it was pretty much of a mild state when it started to happen. It wasn't as crazy as it was towards the end of the year,
right?
But it was just a mild stage whereby we were able to see and trying to figure out how can we help her, what is supposed to be eating or not. Is it through his diet or whatever like that? But then first game, she was at the stadium. For me, that was the biggest moment that touched my heart, because of through that, she came through to the stadium to watch me and busy screaming and saying, "Daddy, Daddy," and that was for me the touching part. So then, of course, as I say, health shakes everything up, regardless. So for me, after then, start of the year, things started to get better. We started to see a better sleep. I'm not saying completely, but we started to see sleep. We started to see more sleep during our nights, and that gave us hope now to start having a breather. And after then, also now mentally, I'm starting to feel better. But even so, I tried to even create two personalities of myself, whereby Vila takes care of, Valdez takes care of whatever that's happening in the field of play. Then Sibusiso comes back home and comes back to be a father, to try and make the situation to be better. As long as you are there for the family, even through those tough times, everybody goes through those tough times. That's life. There's its own ups and downs. But then, as I said, when I saw this journey, I saw a journey of a new journey. Now let me see how I go about this journey. Let me see how I can inspire the next one to inspire the other one that's following up. But then, of course, came life, throwing an obstacle on my way, which was pretty much serious. Then, of course, earlier in the season, started to feel better. But then I'd seen and I started to interpret that I think the coach had written me off. He had written me off because I've went back to him and said, look, I'm in a better state of mind. I'm in a better state of thinking. I'm in a better space of now I can contribute better because of now this little beautiful girl, she's better. We're seeing better days. Now I can come back to what's really important also, which is trying to contribute and help the team. But I come in too late. He had written me off. And I said, okay, fair enough. You move on. We'll see what happens in the future.
Again, when I think of it, and I'm saying, number one, very honest of you to tell the coach what you told the coach, because you got to make him understand where you are mentally and what is causing that.
Yeah.
But does the club itself, does the team, never mind the coach, because via the coach, the club will then need to know.
Yeah.
Does the club offer any assistance to you, Vila, with your daughter to say, let us get your mind off the problem. Let's get you back in terms of thinking about football. Give me 30 seconds. Let me explain why I say this. I'm not saying Tears Galaxy are Bayern Munich. And when I talk about Bayern Munich, I talk about a gentleman that I got to know very well, Sami Kuffour, who played for Bayern Munich. His mom was ill. His mom was in Ghana. And Bayern Munich, when they heard about what is getting Sami Kuffour mentally off his game, and they figured out that he's worried about his mom in Ghana, Bayern Munich got all the details about the mom. Without Sammy's knowledge, they went and fetched her from Ghana, flew her to Germany. They went and performed the operations once she had been examined in terms of what was wrong. And when they played the UEFA Champions League final, and they got to win the UEFA Champions League final, Sami Kuffour did not even know that the mother was at the stadium. And only when he was there carrying the trophy, that's why he got so emotional, is the club went out of their way to, with the private jet, go and pick her up, take her to a hospital in Germany, get her sorted out, take her to the stadium for the final. And all he saw in that grandstand was somebody that looked like his mom, but it was his mom. They had done all of that so that he gets his mind off worrying and into football. That's why I asked the question again. Did the club offer any help to say, you are our player, this is what is distracting you, how can we support you?
Just to get in there, because I was on a trail of thought in between, because me having a conversation with the coach, I thought he'd take it up to the president. I thought he would take it up to the president, but then thinking about it right now, I felt like it never got there. It never got there for whatever reasons. I don't know how, but then it never got there. But then that's why I said, like, it felt like as if I'm addressing this issue. Now you're giving me an ear, okay, it feels tense, but maybe had I showed him the videos that we were seeing that was really affecting him, maybe she would have put himself in my shoes and says, okay, now I can have an idea of when you're saying I'm not sleeping. And yet again, you still have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. These days are ticking. And even following the following, you still find yourself within these premises and still training.
Right.
And not like my body's there. I'm not bringing my body there. I'm bringing myself to put myself in a position to raise my hand and play on the weekend. Which half and half of it, I'm like, okay, if it happens that I'm under the team, then okay, switch off from this side. Then I gotta switch on the other side, which is critical. Critical whereby now where do we find the balance? That's when it came to a point whereby what I addressed, I thought it will reach at the top. And then when it reaches at the top, maybe we'll find a way in terms of now how can you help this individual to help us, and then we'll help him also.
So you believe that it didn't reach the president, it didn't reach Tim Sugas?
I don't know, but
and he didn't call you aside, Tim, and say, listen, I'm a bit worried because the coach is now not using you, you're not scoring, you're not providing assists, etc.
Well, maybe the assistant coach which was there, which he left, he was the one that said, maybe you can speak to the president. Maybe. But I had already spoken to you guys, and I feel like there should be communication levels. I can't just take the matter all the way to the president, whereby we have certain levels of communication where I've addressed this to you guys, and I want you guys to address it to the president. Maybe he's asking, maybe he's not asking, but I want you to address this issue because it's very critical at this point in time.
But given his non-action, did you believe, though, that he was then believing the version of the coach to say you're just not giving the best?
Funny enough,
Yeah?
Can't answer that because, as I still say, there are certain things that you can control. There are certain things that you can't control.
Can't. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me play this because Tim Sugazi was in our studio.
The Vila situation, obviously, now that...
You've parted ways with him, right?
Yes.
I believe that he had a clash with the coach.
No.
Why is he
Not at
leaving?
all. Not at all, Shame. Vila, I don't think, is a confrontational fellow to start with. And so is our coach, in all honesty. In fact, they had a very lengthy conversation between themselves, and they came to a meeting of the minds to say, Vila, performance-wise, it hasn't worked. And Vila agreed. Nothing, no animosity.
So what do you
It's
attribute
not-
him leaving to then?
You know, his performance was not to the desired level.
Yeah.
From a player like him, for that matter. You know, none in the league. He hasn't scored for us or anything. A player like him, you don't bring them for anything else in our situation. You bring him for goals,
Right.
maybe the assist as well. So none of the above in all the games. These are the facts and that's the truth. Maybe it's a form issue, maybe what, but a player of his caliber, unfortunately, has to
So you're
perform
saying
consistently.
uncategorically nothing to do with
No.
discipline?
No,
Nothing to
He's
do.
a good guy.
How much did he have in that contract still? How many years?
No, for the remaining 4 months. It was
4
a
months.
one-season contract. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you've
So
paid
it
him
was
off.
not. It was not
the
an
4
issue.
months.
Yes, we've agreed.
Yes, we've agreed. We've paid him off. Couple of things there. What do you make of what Tim's assertion is? He says maybe it was a form issue. Nowhere there does he say Villa's having a family problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't allude to anything to that nature. But he talks about form, talks about goals not being there, He talks about the desired level not being there, performance is not there at all. And you had a lengthy conversation with the coach. Those are some of the words that he uses.
Well, when I digest what Mr. Tim said, there was a period whereby I was missing, and that was the critical period with my daughter.
Yeah.
So then you can imagine that was the period where I was missing in terms of now having to perform better in the field of play. So how can I perform better when I've just indicated or I've just stressed out to you the situation that's really affecting me in terms of me having a fully fit Villa who's fully fit in terms of the thinking, in terms of how can he help the team. But then, of course, with some of the things, okay, fine, I'll take it in terms of no assist, okay, fine, fair enough. In terms of scoring goals, fair enough, okay. Maybe that now we can break it down to, okay, what I could have done better in terms of maybe putting myself in a goal scoring positions. Was I in a good position receiving balls or whatever? Then that's another topic with the tactical side of everything. And now that brings us back to the field. But in terms of where it starts, I've already said it. I've already made then.
But from
then
the clip
it
that I've
answers
just
the
played,
questions. It answers the question of saying clearly he was never told about the situation.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like somebody who knew.
No, clearly.
But does that worry you though? Because I don't just see you, Villa, as just another player that they went and bought, and it was a big deal that they signed you.
Yeah.
Because they know of your pedigree. They know what you've done at Bidvest. They know what you've done at Mamelodi Sundowns. They know of the trophies you've won, the successes you've had. You're not just an ordinary player.
Yeah.
So when a senior person was on the flip side, hey, you got Bernard Parker who's got a six-pack on his elbow. He is training hard. He is putting himself out there. Surely somebody would have been able to say, no, man, let me go have a word with Villa. And for me, it disturbs me that it does not seem like that was the case. And before you even answer, let me take a couple of voice notes. We'll come back from the break as well, and we'll hear more from Sibusiso Vilakazi.
Good evening, Rob. Who never died to win. All I know, Usu Vila is a good player, and he gave us my memories. I'm actually cool about Sundowns, and with Iwe Kretiak, I'm second to none, Panagisi. And I'm sure Usu is told Matuza Iklapu because he's talented, and we'll see the best of him again. Thank you.
Hi, Rob. Please ask Vila. His long injury at Sundowns, is that perhaps caused that his form, deteriorate, or what happened or was it maybe the challenge at Mamelodi Sundowns? Thanks, Abi Moloi.
Abi, thank you so much indeed. Lots of your voice notes and more coming through. Don't go anywhere.
Marawa Sports worldwide on 947, Monday to Friday from 6 to 7 p.m.
#MSW. #MSW.
Wednesday nights, soccer nights, your nights.
Good evening, Mr. Marawa. Kuluma Nasibongeleni Wamkhona. Mr. Marawa, thanks very much for having Sibusiso Vilakazi studio today. Mr. Marawa, I was very, very, very disappointed with the the way coach TS Galaxy responded when he got asked about Vila. We all know that Vila is a professional footballer who has served our football with the distinction, Mr. Marawa, wherever he played. I think he was putting 100% effort from his days at Vet University and at Mamelodi Sundowns until we get the news that he's not putting enough effort at TS Galaxy, but by that coach Uset Ramovic. My only question to Uvila, Mr. Marawa, is that there was an interest from Kaizer Chiefs from his days at Vet University until he moved to Mamelodi Sundowns. And then when he was about to leave Mamelodi Sundowns to join TS Galaxy, and then that interest started again. So what made him not to play for Kaizer Chiefs, since they were interested in him long time ago? Thank you, Mr. Marawa.
And Rob, it's the Boho here and going to Vila. Rob, the manner in which we treat our footballers in this country is quite embarrassing. Here we're talking about a player who has contributed immensely to our game. I mean, Vila was once a player's player of the year, and he won a player of the year, and he gets treated in this manner, Rob. It's quite embarrassing. And we're seeing a trend at TS Galaxy where players are given penalties or sanctions that are very questionable. I mean, Apelele Teto was recently demoted into the MDC team. I mean, Rob, for a youngster to be stripped his dignity in that manner, for me, I believe that there could be other progressive disciplinary measures that could have been taken to ensure that at the end of the day, you restore the pride of the player. You also get the players buy-in into your philosophy or into your idea, so that at the end of the day, it becomes a win-win situation. And I still believe Vila has got a lot to give. He will contribute immensely to Sukukuni if they sign him. Thank you so much, Rob, and all the best, Vila.
Rob, yeah, this is a sad story. We didn't want to be on Villa's shoes, yeah. But again, I guess now these days, it's a question of results over anything else. And even losing that human side of our coach, they want to save their jobs by all means necessary. Yeah, Okanye let him this.
Kanyile and Tembisa and all the other voice notes, thank you so much indeed. We'll try and go through as many of them as we possibly can. You can imagine how much this story has spiked interest around the country. You're listening to 947. We are live on Vuma FM, Rise FM, and on Sowetan Live, as we get it directly from the player himself. He's been in the middle of the fire, right in the heart of it. But if you also do want to give us a call, 011-8838-947, 011-8838-947, you can speak directly to Sibusiso Vilakazi. And I agree with Deboko. I mean, you have had such an illustrious career, and we're not saying it's preferential treatment. Not at all. How do you respond to a lot of them? I mean, it's all saying pretty much the same thing. Yes, Bongalini asked about why haven't you been to Chiefs. Chiefs have shown an interest a long time ago. Deboko saying that this was embarrassing, uses the Pelele demotion as well as an example. Was it a Sundowns injury? So maybe let's just quickly zoom through those WhatsApp voice notes and how do you respond to them?
The one that's on top of my head right now, it's the Sundowns one, which I think with those, it was setbacks more than anything, because it could happen to anyone. It's part of the game. That's one thing that you have to understand with this game, is that you have to accept, and once you have accepted, then you're going to heal better. Then that's when you put your mindset. But within that period, or within that spell where I was sidelined, that even also I got some fuel from it, and say, look, within the time out, I'm going to try my best to recover myself and then put myself in a position to help the team, which I've never stayed out throughout the end of the season without me getting back to the team, which, as I've said, within my own battles that I've fought, the doctors will say, you're out for 6 months, and then I'll be pretty much back in 3 months. Because I know how much this means to me, how much I want to contribute to the team.
Yes.
And that will give me a fair chance enough to keep myself playing also. So, as I say, like, those setbacks also, they help me in a way of refueling me, able to refuel yourself again and find yourself, your best form, and then try and contribute. So I've never felt, because at the end of the day, you look at Sundowns, you look at how many trophies I've won, and I've won them participating, contributing, as I said. the move that I made to Sundowns was a move to say I'm going to contribute to make the team successful.
Because you wanted silverware yourself.
I wanted silverware.
Yeah.
Because of the other side is of course I came from Vets, having won one Nedbank Cup, and of course the football of the season, which now I said to myself something is missing. And at that time, I was still pretty much giving the best performance at Vets, but I needed to step it up a bit. If there's no window that will take me to overseas, then of course, Coach Peter Musimane would have at that time was knocking, and I was like, look, I'm still knocking overseas. But then he said, look, if it happens that it doesn't happen, there's Champions League here, there's a FIFA Club World Cup here, which 2016 was the best time whereby I went to play FIFA Club World Cup, having to compete and see now when you look at Real Madrid having to compete with Al Ahly. That's the last stage of African football, FIFA Club World Cup, which had given me that opportunity. But not only that, back-to-back titles going forward. So for me, that story was successful with Mamelodi Sundowns. I wouldn't say successful for me, but successful contributing to the success of Mamelodi Sundowns, and that will be written in the history, and also it will decorate my career, because at the end of the day we play for titles. You want to be decorated as the best football player. And then going forward in terms of Chiefs, there was no offer from Kaizer Chiefs ever, even at the time you had Wits. At Wits, there was.
Did you ever consider Chiefs though?
I was not in a position to consider or anything like that. It was a situation of whereby who comes in with the money, and then buys, basically.
So you wanted them to pay for the kind of player you had become. And obviously, to become a footballer of the season when you at Budvets,
pretty much, to be honest. Pretty much. It's pretty much because of you want the player, get the player. It's okay. We want the player. Sundown said we want the player. You saying 10 million? Okay. We want 12 million. Sundown says, okay, we want 12 million. We have 13 million. Pretty much, because you have an idea you have an idea of this player, what he's going to do for you.
So was 13 million the final?
I don't know. I'm just making examples.
Okay, an example.
Figures. Yeah, just making examples of the figures. I'm not saying those were the figures. Just making it was 1 rand, 2 rand, 5 rand, 50 rand. This was the amount. You get the story.
Okay, I hear you. Let me bring Sipo in. Sipo is on the line. Wanting to chat to you, Vila. Sipo, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hey,
how are you doing, sir?
I just got the show in the middle because I was checking the boys training there. Hey, Vila, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm sure you will never remember me, but we went together at Inkonjane Higher Primary at some point. Look, I was touched by the story. Like I said, I got the show in the middle.
Sure.
I just read it today, and by coincidence, I don't know if it was got. When I switch on the radio, there's Vila on the radio. I just want to say, man, be strong, man. You're still young. You still have, a long way to go. I read the story of your child and so forth, and it really touched me because my child did an operation when she was 2, and I really understand how it is like. I'm not sure if the discussion that you discussed, but I just read it in one of the platforms. Just want to say, keep it up, man. Keep working hard. I know the caliber of a player that you are. You're still young. Let set you back. Yeah, that's what I want to say, man.
Sipo, listen on the radio. Thank you so much indeed for that motivation. Something that you certainly would need, and it must come as a form of encouragement to have one of your former schoolmates come through and pep you up like that.
In Konjan, it takes me a while back. Back in the days, like in Konjan. After I remember those days when I came from Timberlake and then went to Inkonjan. And then, but I don't know, did he say it was my classmate or maybe schoolmate?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was at a higher grade there. Yeah. But of course, strength to him also, having to have gone through that phase because of SSA, like it's a very difficult phase. But then we put the Almighty, we put everything into him. He knows what he does for us. And as I say, throughout that, it made me get closer to God. Maybe I distanced myself from him, but then it made me to realize, look, this is where you need to come back. This is your strength. This is where you get your strength to see yourself succeeding. As I say, I've met so many obstacles, with my injuries and stuff, like injuries that could turn up the next day. It's done for you. But then even with those moments, I brought myself closer to God again, and then He has shown His light. And through this situation also, He has shown the light. He has shown. Gave us hope with our daughter, and then our daughter now pretty much is back to her own self, playing, busy jumping at me when I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd rather have you jumping on me in the gym than
in
going
the
back
sick
there.
bag.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't want to even, I think for me, it was not even about pride. It was not even about telling them how I feel about it so that you feel sympathy for me. I wasn't even asking. I was just telling you how I feel. And knowing myself, I was like, even if I didn't need to tell you, I think I would have found a way to keep on going, keep on pushing, and try to connect these dots. And I know through God, you know, eventually.
But it's important though, Vila. It's important that you tell us these stories because I don't think we are honest enough in terms of football. I don't think in terms of how the game is run, who runs the game. Are they honest with us when they tell us what they tell us? And it's become pretty clear that, you know, obviously the president of the club, Tim Sugazi, when he was here, did not know what he knows now, did not know then what you've told us today.
Yeah.
So if you don't tell us and we then tell the people that run the clubs, because this is seen as a professional league, there's a way that professionals do things in terms of how they run. Yes, they run their own teams, they own the teams, they put money in terms of that, but they're still professional. The fact that there is TV rights, billions of rands being plowed into the game, you go and pay at the turnstile to go and watch the game. That is a professionalization of the game. And they need to do things in a professional manner. If you had to eventually sign, for example, in Belgium, or you had to go to Italy, you know that when you get there, yourself, your wife, your kid, there's somebody to take care of that part of your journey. When you're looking for a home, they have somebody assigned. True. When you're at training, your wife, as well as your kid, they're going around with that person assigned for that to go look for an apartment for you or a home for you so that you don't have to worry about those things. That is what I'm saying, is the professionalization of the game. Are we at that level? I don't even know. Lesiba on Twitter says, if the coach didn't take the time for Villa for the management, judging by what Tim said last week, it's a very, very sad story.
Unjani amadlophuthu ngibingelele na wena phephetha. Yazi khona into abangaunderstand abaphathi abaphethe ezemidlalo ukuthi khona lento ekuthiwa i-mental health bakwethu, isimo sengqondo sokuhlola umdlali. Ingaka abadlali abadlala i-tennis onami Osaka bakhetha ukuthi baqhele kwesinye isikhathi. Abadlali abanjengabo o Andy Murray bathi ukuhlala kancane bengadlali ngobani i-mental health hayi ukuthi nabo bangamabhubezi noma mhlawumbe bashayeka nabo empilweni abantu kodwa ke abaphathi manje bezodama nje bakudaxaze bakulaxaze kanjalo yini professionalism sipho sami kamsweli lo yinani.
Good evening, Robbie. I know that you're sitting with one of Soweto's finest players, player of the year. Hence I always said Vila can't be a bad player overnight. Now we know that he had family problems, family commitments, and now we thank God, Jehovah, for giving his son the life that Vila and any other parent would love their kids to have. I went through the same thing that Vila is going through. I was recruited here at home by Fanny Matida's assistant coach who had been promoted to become a head coach at Gaziantep, and he reached his 6 games mark and of winning 6 games, and he was supposed to get his bonuses and he didn't. To cut the long story short, a new coach from Germany came, a German Turkish coach, and he started not fielding me until Augusto Palacios went through to go and explain to him about my culture, about how should I be treated. And when we played against Galatasaray and the season was about now to end and we were left with about 6 games to go, he fielded me and I scored. That's when he realized and understand my culture, our culture. The same with Vila. Vila, be strong, young man. You know what is needed from you. You have the mental strength, the physical ability. You are an intelligent player. You can't be a bad player overnight. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. We all know what you can do. That is why I say you are Soweto's finest. You've won all the accolades. You've played for big teams and you started from a small team. And you've proved to South Africa that you can play this game. You have to go out there, enjoy the game, get back to your playing ways, get back to the way you entertain the people, scoring goals, making people to spend their last end cent to watch Vila. So
Yeah, Tebogo Mloyi, thank you so much. One of South Africa's greatest footballers and exports that we've had. Vila, 30 seconds, man. That's how quickly time flies on this show. You've had your say. How are you feeling?
Well, already when coming to this interview, I knew that I'll get my say. I'll get a point of relief in terms of now releasing my thoughts, releasing my inner self. Whereby I think the most important thing the other listener was saying is that health. Health is
mental
very key.
health.
Mental health is very key. As much as I think there's one thing that I have as a strength or as a tool, which is for me, it's my mental.
You're strong mentally.
Mentally.
I've got no time. I've got to go.
Yeah.
So we see you, Skukune? Maybe yes, kind of, sort of.
I think maybe the biggest lesson that I've made, the biggest mistake was to go. Maybe I should have went to TS Galaxy and try and assess the situation, train with them, see the management, see the professionalism, and then I'll take it from that, or maybe the lesson. Maybe.
Okay.
Now,
Vila, thank you. Thank you so much, man. I've got to go. We'll catch you again tomorrow.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live at the same time. #MSW.